First of all, please remember the ABC rule for speaking activities. A. Clear answers, grammar corrections, and the use of synonyms. Please don't repeat the same words over and over again. B. Using your pronunciation and intonation in a calm and collected way. C. Expand your answer as much as possible. Exercise 1, Speaking Part 1. Discuss some of these questions about careers and education. If you changed careers, what would you do? Jaime, you can go first.
Well, in my case, as a civil servant in the state security force, I see how every day my colleagues and I are confronted with cases of all kinds. Most of the time, we limit ourselves to receiving and executing orders, filling out paperwork and all that. Although, on other occasions, we investigate deeds and people, track their bank movements, see how they are related to and what business they have. It's fascinating to see how there is always a story. Discovering how the facts are related is quite addictive even. I doubt very much that I will change career. In any case, the only one that seduces me at the moment will be journalism. Investigate journalists, obviously.
Jaime, please take note of the following corrections. First, time markers are always collocated either at the beginning or at the end of the sentence. And second, instead of saying filling out paperwork, you might as well say filling out the forms. And the third one, on other occasions, should be replaced with in other occasions. Next, change who to how. Fascinating to see how to fascinating to know that there is always a story to discover. And lastly, that seduces me to the only one that appeals to me. Okay? Did you get it? Katie, please answer question number 2. Do you think it is easier to learn as a child or as an adult? Explain your view. Pay close attention to these types of questions as they might seem very simple. In order to appropriately answer, we need to stick to the ABC rule I have previously mentioned so that we can give a definite answer despite being full of classics. We will not be graded on our originality, but on the correct use of the employed terms. So go on, Katie.
Okay, these choice answers are the ones that make me the most nervous.
Don't stress. Which would you say it's easier? Studying while you're a child with your parents' full support, or when you're an adult that also has to deal with both familiar and professional responsibilities?
Okay, all right, good. I think it's easier to learn when you are a child because basically you don't have a lot of other responsibilities. Also, as we know, the learning capacity of a young person is much higher than an adult. I, as a teacher, have to be constantly attending to pedagogical adaptation courses where we are informed about new curricular contents, methods, etc. As an adult, it is more difficult to learn when you have a family and professional responsibilities in your life.
Katie, please listen carefully with these mistakes I jotted down. First, other ways of saying responsibilities are commitments, duties, or engagement. Remember Rule A, use of synonyms. Second, you must say, I as a teacher has to be attending constantly instead of have to be constantly attending. One more thing. Remember the ABC rule wherein it says, please don't repeat the same words over and over again. Third, other ways of saying learning is acquire or acquiring knowledge. You can also use the idiom like to sail through it, meaning it is such an easy activity or duty. That's all, Katie. Thanks! Let's move on. Exercise 2 is speaking part 2. What are the disadvantages of these two learning environments? This exercise will play out as follows. During the exam, the examiner will throw this question to any of the students. They will then ask the questions that are left, or will repeat any of the questions to whomever he considers appropriate. That is why we need to pay close attention to everything everyone is answering and to what the examiner is saying at all times. Regarding your answers, you already know the ABC rule and the typical answers. There's no need to think out of the box. You can start now, Katie.
In the picture to my left, I see a teacher standing in a class of a primary school, maybe 6th grade. The tables are pushed together and they seem to be listening to the teacher's explanation. The arrangement of the chairs in this way is often used to do joint work or to set up discussions in the classroom. In my opinion, the disadvantage for learning would be the noise. The noise and the overstimulation that this configuration generates, especially when everyone wants to talk at the same time. The time is not respected.
Somos un centro de estudios certificado por Cambridge para la formación de todos sus cursos, con más de 10 años de experiencia en la formación presencial y online. Utilizamos las herramientas de conexión más eficaces para garantizar la estabilidad de la imagen en la pantalla de tu tablet, teléfono inteligente o portátil. Te sentirás acompañado y motivado durante todo el proceso de aprendizaje para que te presentes a examen y consigas tu certificación oficial C1 Cambridge. Espero tu llamada.
In the photo on my right, I see two people sitting down, one of them wearing headphones. They look like high school students and seemingly obvious to each other. There is no teacher in the frame, just a blackboard in the background. As a disadvantage, I would say that the apparent lack of a teacher would be the main disadvantage, since if the students have any doubts, there's no one to turn to. I would also mention that the use of headphones by one of the students can distract the other students due to the volume of the music or whatever he or she is listening to.
Katie, please take into account these words to be changed. The picture on the left instead of to my left. Use contrastive linkers such as while, whereas, or conversely. The photo on my right instead of in the photo. Finally, other way of saying students could be learners or high schoolers. That's all, Katie. Now, Jaime, question number 2. Has your learning environment been any similar?
Well, yes, more or less. I remember when I was young that in primary school and in some high school classes, we used to stand like in the picture of my left. Indeed, as my partner says, there used to be a lot of noises, and some of us would make jokes. Frankly, they were my favorite classes, because they weren't like the typical classes where you just sat and listened for hours without hardly intervening. As for the picture of my right, it reminds me of the library, where I used to go to study in the afternoons. I would take my books with me, complete my notes, make summaries and diagrams to prepare for exams as well. In addition, there were classmates or high school classmates with whom I could go out for a break, or even help me with maths, physics and other exercise. It was a very nice time. I remember it fondly.
Jaime, please listen attentively to these following rectifications. That in primary school, change to at primary school. So that's all for you, Jaime.
Te dejo con nuestra clase de Speaking TV Series. Muchas gracias and see you soon.